Hello, baseball fans. You're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
Welcome to On Deck. I'm Tyler Redmond. As always, thank you so much for checking out the channel. I do appreciate it. While you're here, make sure to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and hit the bell for notifications so that you can stay up to date with everything going on here at On Deck, and of course, with the Atlanta Braves. The Braves, fresh off a series with the Milwaukee Brewers, they just moved up to second place in the National League East, 6 games back from the New York Mets. And I got to tell you, after the series that they had with the Mets, I had a feeling that we would see an uptick of performance. I really thought that momentum was shifting a bit for the Braves, and I'm going to tell you why. If you remember in that series, the Braves won the first game. They lost 2 games in the doubleheader, and then they had one more game to follow that. They capped it off with a win. They split the series with the Mets. The Mets didn't gain any ground, and it really felt like the Braves, had their head in the right place and were moving forward. And I got to tell you, based on this past series with the Brewers, I believe these are the Braves that we've been waiting for. These are the Braves that we've been looking to see all year long. Of course, a fundamental part of that is Ronald Acuna Jr. We all know it. 2 days, 2 home runs. We all know about him taking that tumble in the first home run of the year. And as funny as it might have been, isn't it good to see him looking like Acuna of old times? In that series, he was 5 for 11, again, with 2 homers and 2 stolen bases. This is what we've been waiting to see out of Ronald Acuna. He's finally looking like himself after the adjustment period, after he had his form of spring training. I think he's a big part of why it feels like we're watching the Braves that can compete in the postseason again. He's a big part of that momentum, not just for who he is or even what he does at the plate. One of the most underrated things about Ronald Acuña's game is what he can do on the base pass. Back in 2019, the last full season prior to this year, he led in stolen bases. I think he's trying to outperform those numbers. I think he's definitely got a mindset that he wants to steal as many bags as possible. It's just something to keep an eye on. I'm not saying he's going to get 40-40 or anything, but if he can somehow get close to 40 with losing 100 at-bats this year, I think it says a lot about his return. I think he's already kind of performing and showing you what he's worth already. But either way, he's forcing offense, and that's always a good thing. So good to see Ronald Acuna performing like he is. Good to see him back in the Braves lineup. And, of course, he's always fun to watch. So hopefully he'll have a great 2022 season. Another guy I want to talk about, Spencer Strider. This guy's been catching headlines all year long. We've talked about him extensively. I thought Spencer Strider was one of the best surprises that we could have gotten on opening day. His performance was awesome. 2 innings, he faced 6 guys, he struck out 5, and Votto, I think, flew out. So obviously a really good night for the young pitcher in Spencer Strider. Hopefully it's the start of a great major league career. Not that this comes to any surprise, but he had a great outing in Game 1 of the series versus Milwaukee, following Jesse Chavez, who got in a little bit of trouble. Didn't start the game off great for Spencer. But what's different about this appearance for Spencer Strider is the length of performance. He hadn't gone this long yet. Went a total of 4 innings, and he gave up 4 hits, but he struck out 8. The important number to me here is that there were no walks. The report of Spencer Strider prior to the season starting was he had a bit of command issues. I got to be honest with you, I've seen very little of that. He had one rough outing a couple of weeks ago, but other than that, he's been lights out this year, and I think we're all aware of that. And you know what? Yesterday, he threw 69 pitches, 50 of them were strikes. So, because of this, because of his success this year, there's been a lot of chatter about moving him into the starting rotation. I got to tell you, it's not a huge surprise for me that conversation is being had. We all know about his velocity, but what has impressed me is the command of that velocity. Very few guys can locate 102. He's been able to do that so far this year. Again, his last appearance, 4 innings pitched, the longest so far this season, but I think it will gradually get longer. And even though he didn't start this game, I think he could very well end up being in the starting rotation. That idea has been floated around since, again, the start of the season. A lot of you guys have been hyping him up, rightfully so. But with the struggles of Huascar Ynoa and the performances that he's been able to have out of the pen, I think it could happen pretty soon. The one concern I have, and you could have, and you may have, about putting Spencer Strider in the starting rotation is that he is limited on the variety of pitches he throws. What I mean by that, Strider throws a four-seam fastball, a slider, and a changeup. He throws that fastball 70% of the time, that slider 27% of the time, and the changeup 3% of the time. There's just not a ton of variety there. That could lead to trouble. It could have an effect on him going longer in games because, especially the third time through the order. And that's why I think the debate lingers about making him a starter. If he had, maybe even just one more pitch, or maybe even just use that changeup a little bit more. He throws 3 pitches, but right now it's really only 2 because he's relying solely on that fastball and the slider. He's been nasty, make no mistake about it, but you could have that concern. It could lead to issues down the road. As that being said, I'm more than happy to give him a shot in the rotation, even if it is only temporary. I don't care. Maybe he can develop some other pitches, in that spot. Maybe he can learn a thing or two. But I'll be honest with you, I think he could be successful at least for a short stint in the starting rotation. Again, I don't know how long it lasts. It may be that he only goes 4 innings in those starts. I don't know what the what the mindset is that the Braves have with him, but he is definitely a candidate for that starting rotation right now. And what you could see with Spencer Strider is you could see him be an opener of sorts. Maybe not go that long in the games, 3 or 4 innings, and then you bring in most of your pen, right? That could be the case because outside of him, of course, you got Max Fried, who, you're pretty confident in. Kyle Wright's been great this year. Charlie Morton, if he can get back to where he was yesterday, then we're in good shape. And of course, Ian Anderson, you're not going to really have to rely on the pen that often with most of those guys. It may be that Spencer Strider is the guy you have to carry a bit. No concern there. I'm not worried there, but that just may be what they're planning on doing because, he's been great in long relief, without a doubt. He's kept the Braves in a lot of games. But that being said, it'll be interesting to see what the Braves decide to do with him. So let me know what you think the Braves should do with him down in the comment section below, and I'll be sure to get back to you. Another guy we need to talk about, I just mentioned him, Charlie Morton. Morton's slow start has made a lot of people anxious and concerned about him in the starting rotation, more than all of the offensive trouble that the Braves have had, because everyone knows that the Braves lineup at some point or another is going to break out. There's too many heavy hitters in that lineup. But there were a lot of questions surrounding Morton entering 2022. So far this year, he's got an ERA of 5.65 and a record of 2-3 in 6 starts. There's no question, in my opinion, that Charlie Morton is a great pitcher. We all know what he can do. We all saw it in the World Series last year. And of course, we all saw it, throughout the, I would say the back half last year as well. He's been a great pitcher throughout his career, but a lot of folks have questioned the broken leg that he got in the World Series last year. We're all very familiar with that moment. A lot of people have suggested that could have been adding to his troubles, along with his age. Of course, he's 38 years old. It could be quite the obstacle. I get all of that, but to be honest with you, I don't think so. There's not enough evidence to convince me of that. And the question's warranted, don't get me wrong, especially considering what he told Jeff Schultz yesterday, him wondering himself if he could still do it. But Morton is still a very good veteran pitcher. He wasn't blowing anybody away yesterday, but he got out of a lot of jams. But at some point, age does catch up to you. I think we're all aware of that. The question is it time for him yet? Only time will tell. But I will tell you this, in my opinion, Charlie Morton has earned a very long leash, before the Braves make a rash decision. And I think most Braves fans are aware of that. I think we're all on the same page there. But to make you more comfortable about Charlie Morton, realize that there's no noticeable difference purely in the velocity or the spin rate. There's no major difference there. The biggest issue that Charlie's having is the limited amount of swing and miss. In yesterday's start, Morton threw 92 pitches with 10 swings and misses. That's more than he's had in all of his other starts. So hopefully it's a big step forward. Hopefully it's a sign of things to come for Charlie Morton and his development. Hopefully we see similar to what we saw last year. If you remember last year, Charlie kind of started slow as well. Hopefully, he breaks out of this. I still think that the shortened spring training is not good for these guys. I really don't think so, especially pitchers. Look how long it took Max Fried to get adjusted. Look how long it's taken Charlie Morton to get adjusted. I think that's an effect on it, and you can't convince me otherwise. But hopefully he's finally got his groove and we can move forward. I would have mentioned this guy because I think he deserves some credit, and I haven't had a real chance to do it. Travis Demerit. He didn't have a huge series versus the Brewers or really even the Mets, but this guy has stepped up at the right time. With Eddie Rosario going down with the vision problems and all that, Travis gave a lot of life to a otherwise pretty quiet lineup. And, he's hitting 268, 2 homers. The numbers don't jump off the page. I'm aware, but he plays like he wants to be there. He plays hard, he plays fast, and he plays to win. Of course, the moment that's going to stick out is the inside the park home run. I think we're all aware of that, versus the Rangers a couple of weeks ago. Great moment for him, and obviously put a run on the board himself, and that's wonderful. But I just thought he was worth mentioning today. We talk a lot about what players aren't doing. Travis Demerit has done everything right within his ability, and I can't say enough about it. There's other guys I need to mention too. Adam Duvall, of course, hit his first home run of the season. Homers are a fundamental part of his game. He's not an average guy, so homers are going to be his bread and butter. And, finally he got one. Maybe he can break out. I mean, it wasn't that long ago he was leading in RBIs, so maybe, he can break out, and like he did for the past couple of seasons, we can see the Adam Duvall that we're familiar with. One last guy, William Contreras, of course, hit a 3-run bomb yesterday among many other runs scored. That was a big one, and a great moment for young William Contreras. So, again, all in all, it really finally feels like, to me, that the Braves are the Atlanta Braves that we're familiar with. And I really thought after the Mets series we would see an uptick, we would see a momentum shift. I fundamentally believe we have seen that momentum shift. I don't know how long it's going to last, but I think we have seen that spark. We saw a couple of sparks early on last year. When it looked bleak, there were a couple of sparks. I think this is a great start to move on in the season and start making our stride towards winning the National League East once again. So, the next series is the Red Sox. I think we're going to do well against them. We got them for 2 games. And after that, the Braves play the Padres. We already played the Padres this year. We split the series 2-2. So if they play like they did versus the Brewers, I think the Braves are going to be fine. And I think, again, with the return of Ronald Acuña, if Charlie Morton continues to pitch like he did yesterday, if we can get past what we've been for the past past month, I think we're going to be in great shape. And it's only going to get better, in my opinion. So if you want to follow the Braves, if you want to keep up with what the Braves are doing every day, do me a favor. Like this video, subscribe to this channel, hit the bell for notifications so that you know when I drop a video just like this, when I go live. We're going to have some of those this week. Make sure you're involved with the channel. I would appreciate it. And of course, if you have an opinion, I'll be glad to get back to you. Just go ahead and comment down below, and I'll get back to you as quick as I can. So thank you for watching, and of course, stay tuned for more right here at On Deck.
Baseball fans, make sure you like and share this video and subscribe to this channel. As always, thank you for your support.